This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Good evening. The time is 9 p.m.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is W5FC. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Please come now. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC -R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we will continue to do that too. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1, general announcements. 2, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3, National Space Society events. 4, recent astronomical discoveries. 5, discussion topic of the evening. 6, WASA. 7, space exploration and space history. 8, constellation of the week. 9, space launches of the week. 10, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11, astronomical Q&A. And 1273 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. We currently have the current people checked in electronically. We have KE5ICX, Tom in Corpus Christi. K5MCD, Cody, under the sky glow of Dallas. W5BLT, Bill in Garland. KF5JHA, we got a twofer here, Chaz and Bob the Cat, and they are on Earth. WB5OZL, Brenda, that's me, in Dallas. N5LIG, Dale, and Little M, KA5AH, Robert in Richardson. N5BB, Bill in Irving. NT5TM, Tony from Bird City. KE5EN, Eric in Plano, and NV5F, Virginia, and Fort Worth. So I'll now take over the air check-ins. We'll start with voice, and starting with short time. Give us your call sign, name, and your location, please. Please come down. All right. Well, I'll take Echolink. Please come down. Okay. Let's see if there's anyone else. Let me check the log. Oh, nobody new there. I have, hold on. A VUTGH-R. And it says CONF. I'm not sure who or what that is. Doesn't look like there's anybody else here. We will be checking people in from time to time. So if you're not ready yet or missed it, then you can come back in just a bit. All right, so let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These could be ham, astronomical space, or general interest to licensed hams. Please come now.
On frequency, November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Go ahead with your announcement, please.
Thank you, Brenda. I'm sorry I hit the wrong button a moment ago. Tonight's Afterglow movie discussion coming up at 10:30 or 10:35 or so will focus on beta test from 2016. Whether you saw the movie or understood the movie, or neither or neither, your participation will be welcome tonight at, again, about 10:30 on this repeater. Please join us. We'd love to hear your input. Now, tomorrow morning, there will be a White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club fox hunt. This is going to cover bullwinkle and Boris only. Our famous high-power fox, Rocky, is out of town in Hawaii. So what does that mean? What frequencies are they on? Please see wa5wrl.org for more details. And join us on the shores of White Rock Lake from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow. So that's the White Rock Lake fox hunt for bullwinkle and Boris only. No Rocky. wa5wrl for more details. And finally, please don't forget, well, actually there's more. Please don't forget that next Saturday, that's 1 week from today, we'll have a lecture and lab at the Dallas Medical Center at 10 a.m. in the third floor community room of the main hospital building. Thanks to some generous donations by Virginia and Roland, you'll be able to build a UHF Yagi for AMSAT or fox hunting for only $10. More details are at w5fc.org, and that post will be getting updated tomorrow. You might need to know what kinds of drill bits you'll need and stuff like that. And speaking speaking of tomorrow, I forgot to write down that tomorrow is a great day for local amateur radio, too. Not only is there the White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club Fox Hunt, but the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air will be taking place at 7 p.m., and the Dallas County area Races training net will be taking place tomorrow at 8 p.m. Let's see if I can get a nap between now and then. Anyway, meeting on the air tomorrow at 7, Races at 8, Fox Hunt all day. Lots of great stuff, NT5TM.
Okay, I'm assuming we're finished, honey. Thank you very much for that. So, let's see. I think we'll skip. You can certainly go to the website and find out all the nets are. There are nets all over the place. And all kinds, no matter what your interests are. So, let's see. Report on tonight's Afterglow movie, KE5ICX. Tom, would you like to read your synopsis of this movie?
Why, Brenda, I'd be happy to. Max Troy looked at his awards. All of them early incarnations for his mastery of video gaming. They were a bit dated, however. Pong, the square ball, winner best paddle knob twist, Pac-Man. Longest time between bathroom visits, over 72 hours. Mario, climbing ladders to inane music, 3 months, continuous play. And everyone's favorite, Punch Card Fun, a first-person shooter game using nothing but a stack of punch cards to navigate a simulated universe of dots and letter T's, flanked by an endlessly chiming mechanical bell. Total time playing, 14 years. It certainly would have been longer had they not torn down the hosting mainframe computer center and put in a mission-critical thrift store. But now he had a new ambition. He realized he could control Orson Creed, a video game employee who had been used as a crash test dummy for various prototype games. His brain implant, the size of a washing machine, was still active and still superglued to his head, could be easily accessed, password 12345, and commandeered for nefarious purposes. Unfortunately, to use said device required Creed to be moved by semi-truck and forklift to crime scenes. Execution was slow, but the rewards were high. And as Tony mentioned, join us for this dated, though some say good, in quotes, gaming computer movie beta test from 2016. That's tonight at 10:30 p.m. If you go to the club website, you'll see beta test 2016 in a hot link, so if you want to pop it on and watch it, if you feel so inclined, you can do so. It's free. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
And worth every penny. Let's see, we have picked up another on the online check-ins. We have AG9SG Antonio in Dallas, Oak Cliff. Do we have anybody else on air who wants to check in? Okay, next up, let's see, I lost my place. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. I'm going to ask Chaz, KF5JHA, if you'd like to give us some information on the TAS. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. This is KF5JHA Chaz. On September the 26th, that's in 6 days, is the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be Matt Penn. The topic will be about citizen science on the solar eclipse that happened not too long ago, over the last year and a half. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas hosts a Saturday night public observing session in the Dallas area. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas observing session. On the third Saturday of the month, that would be tonight, the stargazing is held at Cedar Hill. If we have a ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report, come now with your call sign. Well, I guess I don't hear anything. So check the TASS website, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website, at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Wow, that sounds like a cleaner transmission than I was having. Sounds like I had a lot of interference from the first transmission. This is KF5JHA, back to Renee Control.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, National Space Society events and activities by Bill N5BB. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Well, this is N5BB, and I happen to be the Vice President and Membership Director of the National Space Society North Texas Chapter. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S., which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. Our local National Space Society chapter website is at ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. Our last meeting presentation was Mars Exploration, Past, Present, and Future. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The next meeting will be held on Sunday afternoon, October the 12th. Our meetings are also available virtually. Contact Bill N5BB if you'd like to attend. On the last Friday evening of each month at 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas Chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is along Highway 635 in North Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The next Space Rendezvous will be held on Friday evening, September the 26th. That's this upcoming Friday, at a new location, Torchy's Tacos, 7855 Las Colinas Ridge in Irving. This is about a block east of Cheddar's Restaurant along the Highway 635 service road. They just use the Las Colinas Ridge intersecting street as their address, but it's really on the Highway 635 service road. The U.S. Mint opened sales for rolls and bags containing the fourth and final American Innovation Texas $1 coin of 2025 in early August. The reverse design of these coins honors the innovation of mission control at the Johnson Space Center in Texas. They are legal tender, but they're not released to normal circulation. You have to order them from the U.S. Mint. Please contact me if you'd like to get one of these coins. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill N5BB at his QRZ listed email address or at space@byram.net. And I've got one other news item I'd like to throw in here. I wasn't quick enough to catch things earlier. Since Skynet is about things above us in the sky, including the sun, tomorrow is Sun Day. That's two separate words, Sunday. This is an event to honor the fact that solar energy is clean energy. So it's celebrating the power of clean energy. So tomorrow there will be two local events I know of. There's one in Fairview, Texas, which is near McKinney. Is in Fort Worth. The one in Fairview is Paul Westbrook's house, which will also be in the National Solar Tour in the first weekend of October. And his house has, I believe, various kinds of solar energy. So you can see several different kinds of solar energy things, roof-mounted and other things. The one in Fort Worth I'm not familiar with, except that it has ground-mounted solar panels. If you have interest in either one of those, please email me this evening, because I may not see your email tomorrow. Again, it's space@byram.net or n5bb@arrl.net. Either way, you can reach me, and I'll send you information about those two events. Sun Day, tomorrow, honoring our sun and the energy it supplies to our planet. That's all I got. N5BB, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any more on-air check-ins now?
It is Whiskey Bravo 4 Mike Foxtrot India WB4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra. It's Gus, far northeast Dallas.
Okay, we picked up two more, WB4MFI Ted and W5GUS Gus. Thanks for joining the net. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries, and that is my thing. So the title of this is NASA spacecraft detect a mysterious force shaping the solar wind. A new study led by Southwest Research Institute's Dr. Michael Starkey has provided observational evidence that the SWRI-led magnetospheric multi-scale mission, that's MMS, mission of pickup ions, PUIs, and associated wave activity in the near-Earth solar wind environment. The MMS mission, launched by NASA in 2015, placed 4 spacecraft in orbit to observe Earth's magnetosphere, a magnetic field around the planet that shields it from harmful solar and cosmic radiation. PUIs are formed when neutral particles flowing through the heliosphere are ionized in the solar wind. These PUIs are dragged along with the solar wind and gyrate around the local magnetic field, forming a distinct plasma population with different characteristics from the typical solar wind population. The PUIs are observed to have a typical velocity distribution absent of any other significant energetic ion or electron populations. The wave activity was identified using magnetic field data from MMS combined with theoretical analysis of the expected wave growth modules based on models of the observed PUIs. I'm going to reset. study indicate that PUIs can in fact generate waves in the solar wind near Earth and motivate the need for further statistical studies of these processes, Starkey said. It may be that PUIs play a larger role in the heating and thermalization of the solar wind near Earth than previously thought, which would have large implications for models of the solar wind throughout the heliosphere. By modeling the individual ion components of solar wind and PUIs, the authors identified which populations could be responsible for the observed wave activity. They concluded that the observed waves were likely generated by helium and/or hydrogen PUIs, but due to instrument limitations, they were unable to pinpoint the precise ion species responsible. At further distances from the sun, the relative distance of PUIs in the solar wind increases, which decreases their contribution toward the heating and thermalization of the solar wind through wave-particle interactions. At the outer edges of the solar system, PUIs contribute significantly to the total dynamic pressure in the solar wind, which has large implications for physical processes taking place at the termination shock in the heliosheath. Near Earth, the intensity of PUIs is relatively low, so it's typically assumed that their contribution to wave-particle interactions in the solar wind is negligible, Starkey added. If this assumption is false, current theory and modeling of the solar wind and its evolution throughout the heliosphere would need to be updated. And I'm going to reset now. And next up is the discussion topic of the evening presented by me, W5FC. The title is Scientists Just Found the Hidden Cosmic Fingerprints of Dark Matter, one of my favorite subjects. A Rutgers-led team of scientists has uncovered evidence of how galaxies expand by tracing the invisible scaffolding of the universe created by a mysterious substance known as dark matter. In a newly published study in Astrophysical Journal Letters, researchers used what they said are the largest ever samples of special galaxies called Lyman alpha emitters to study how galaxies clump together over billions of years. In doing so, they gained an improved understanding of how galaxies relate to the surrounding dark matter and how they evolve over time. Analyzing these fingerprints gives us insight into the mass of dark matter surrounding the galaxy, said Eric Weiser, a distinguished professor with the Department of Physics and Astronomy in the Rutgers School of Arts and Sciences and an author of the study. The dark matter masses revealed by this study are consistent with the idea that Lyman alpha emitting galaxies evolved into present-day galaxies like our own Milky Way. The analysis, which assessed wide-field images across 3 different eras of the university's history shortly after the Big Bang, revealed distinct patterns akin to cosmic fingerprints. These patterns point to where dark matter is most concentrated, the researchers said. I'm going to reset. Dark matter, a mysterious substance that doesn't emit light or energy, cannot be seen, but makes up most of the matter in the universe, according to scientists. They know dark matter exists because its gravity affects how galaxies move and how these vast cosmic systems are arranged in space. The study, led by Rutgers doctoral student Danny Herrera, used data from the ODIN, that's 100 square degree DECAM imaging and the narrow bands. Which is a large astronomical project designed to analyze more than 100,000 Lyman alpha emitting galaxies. The researchers focused on data taken from a region of the sky known as the Cosmic Evolution Survey deep field, cosmos, in one of the largest deep sky surveys ever conducted. Looking deep into space and into the distant past, they viewed 3 time periods, some 2.8 billion, 2.1 billion, and 1.4 billion years after the Big Bang. During these periods, Lyman alpha emitter galaxies were young and actively forming stars, making them ideal markers for study. They also contain hydrogen gas that emits a special glow, which allows scientists to discover large numbers of them in the distant universe. We wanted to find the dark matter whose gravity drives galaxies to merge and grow, Herrera said. Understanding where it is and how it has evolved helps us understand how the universe itself has evolved. Dark matter plays a crucial role in galaxy formation by acting as a gravitational glue that helps pull gas together to form galaxies, Herrera said. Its invisible mass creates deep wells in space where galaxies can grow, merge, and evolve, forming the large-scale structure of the universe. We use the clumpiness of these galaxies to identify where the dark matter was densest, Schweizer said. Visualizing that with a contour map, much the way that a hiking map shows elevations, physicists observe the fingerprints of dark matter in the distant universe. Hillary said. One result stood out, 3% to 7% of the dense regions of dark matter capable of hosting galaxies contain Lyman alpha emitting galaxies, they found. This means that Lyman alpha emitting galaxies represent a small percentage of the galaxies forming where the dark matter is densest. The low percentage hints that the galaxies were observed during a short-lived phase, growing in Lyman alpha light for tens to hundreds of millions of years. To uncover these results, the researchers used a technique called clustering, which measures how galaxies are grouped compared with random distributions. They calculated the angular correlation function, a method of counting pairs of galaxies. This research, the scientist said, not only deepens understanding of galaxy evolution, but also helps scientists refine models of the universe's structure. As the Odin survey continues, future studies will expand to more galaxies, offering a more complete view of the cosmic web, they said. While invisible to our telescopes, dark matter shapes the universe through interactions with visible material, Schweizer said. While some try to understand what it is, others, like this research team, try to understand where it is and what that implies about the evolution of the universe. Does anyone have questions or comments about tonight's presentation? Please come with your call sign now. Let's see, we've added N5OF, Clay, and the Ski to our online check-ins. Do we have any other, our electronic check-ins, do we have any new online check-ins? Please come now. All right, moving along. Next segment is called What's Up? And I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, now to present. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thanks, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. Slide Master, slide number 2, please. Our slide master is Tom. He does that for our video version of Skynet. That can be accessed by going to W5FC.org. Click on the link. You'll get the YouTube video version of Skynet. Yes. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. slide number 3. We've talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. Now, T Corona Borealis was supposed to go nova more than a year ago. There are new predictions of November the 10th of this year or June the 25th of next year. We don't know when it's going to happen. These are just predictions. But when it does go nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star, which is 2nd magnitude. I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location in Mesquite. Oh, I said it was in planet Earth. Yeah, Mesquite is more precise. Slide master, slide number 4, please. This image, if you're looking at the video version, is from Thursday, September the 18th, from spaceweather.com, of the sun. The large sunspot complexes on the sun at times are so large that you can use them, you can see them by just using your solar eclipse glasses. The sun is near its 11 years solar maximum. We're not quite sure when the solar maximum will occur until after it happens. Now, I've talked about the solar cycle about 5 months ago on Skynet. Slide master, slide number 5. This is something interesting. It's new. Comet C 2025 R2, also known as SWAN, may be bright enough to see in binoculars in the western evening sky. It's already set now, but try tomorrow evening if it's clear enough. It's around 7th magnitude. You can go to spaceweather.com to find images and finder charts. Right now, the comet is close to the planet Mars in the evening sky. Wow. Slide master, slide number 6. The third quarter moon was on September the 14th. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. The new moon, in fact, the moon was close to Venus just a couple of days ago. The new moon is on September the 21st. On September the 26th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 405,548 kilometers. First quarter moon is on September 29th. October the 6th is full moon. On October the 8th, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, at a distance of 369,819 kilometers. On slide master, slide number 7. On September the 22nd at 1:19 p.m. Central Daylight Time is the autumnal equinox for the Northern Hemisphere. Now, everywhere on the Earth on that date has 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. Also on that date, the sun rises directly east and sets directly west. Once again, everywhere on the Earth. Interesting date. Slide master, slide number 8, please. On September the 23rd, there's a conjunction of the moon and Spica in the evening sky. Slide master, slide number 9. On September 24th, there's a conjunction of the moon and Mars in the western evening sky. Because Mars and Spica are not that far apart from each other. Slide master, slide number 10. September the 27th is the peak of the daytime sextant meteor shower, which is an unknown number of meters per hour. And it's a daytime meteor shower. Now, how do you observe daytime meteors? By the way, it's by using radio. Wow. To get detailed information about how to observe meteors and meteor showers, you can go to the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at AMSmeteors.org. Interesting for hams to try to observe. Slide master, slide number 11. On September 27th is the conjunction of the moon and Antares, the bright star in Scorpius, in the southwestern evening sky. Slide master, slide number 12. On October the 2nd is the conjunction of Mercury and Spica in the western evening sky. Binoculars would be needed to be able to pull both of them out of the strong twilight. And Slide Master, slide number 13 on October the 5th is the conjunction of the Moon, Saturn, and Neptune in the eastern evening sky. Yep, Saturn's in the eastern evening sky. Shortly after sunset, you can spot it. Slide Master, slide number 14. Now on October the 6th is the conjunction of the asteroid Vesta and the bright star Antares in the southwestern evening sky. Yep, I even talk about asteroids. You need a pair of binoculars to find Vesta, but that's all I've used to observe Vesta before from right inside the Metroplex. And this is KF5JJ and this is Skynet. Now, Slide Master, slide number 15. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions? Or maybe you need a fill on some of the information I've given you. Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. But okay. Slide Master, slide number 16. So as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now. And until next time, well, actually, I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet, transmitting on W5FC.org. Oh yeah, that's their website, but it's a W5FC repeater at 146.88 megahertz. Back to our net control. Brenda, it's yours.
Thank you, Chaz. All right, next up is space exploration and space history. This will be presented by Gus, W5GUS. Go ahead, Gus.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. W5GUS here. Let's see, we'll start with the space exploration news. Usually sunspots are dark in the middle and bright on the outside, but sunspot 4220 is just the opposite. Frank J. Melillo of New York photographed this ring-shaped structure on September 19th. Most sunspots appear dark in the middle because that's where they are cool. In a sunspot, strong magnetic fields block the flow of heat from below the sun's surface. The blockage creates a cool and relatively dark core. However, the center of sunspot 4220 is not cool. Instead, it's hot and bright. Perhaps a buoyant plume of plasma is rising with sufficient force to push aside the usual magnetism, creating a hot core inside a cooler ring. But whatever is happening, sunspot 4220 merits watching because strangely shaped sunspots with mixed-up magnetic fields are the ones that are most likely to explode. All right, let's move on to the next piece of development here. Okay, in our nearby stellar neighborhood, a burned-out star is snacking on a fragment of a Pluto-like object. And only NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, with its unique ultraviolet capability, could identify that this meal is taking place. The stellar remnant is a white dwarf about half the mass of our sun, but it is densely packed into a body about the size of Earth. Scientists think that the dwarf's immense gravity pulled in and tore apart an icy Pluto analog from the system's own version of the Kuiper Belt, an icy ring of debris that encircles our solar system. The findings were reported on September 18th in the monthly notices of Royal
Astronomical Society. Researchers were able to determine this carnage by analyzing the chemical composition of the doomed object as its pieces fell into the white dwarf. In particular, they detected volatiles, which are substances with low boiling points, including carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, and high oxygen content that suggest the strong presence of water. They were surprised. We did not expect to find water or icy content. This is because the comets and Kuiper belt-like objects are thrown out of their planetary systems early as their stars evolve into white dwarfs. But here we're detecting this very volatile-rich material. All right, well, that's it for this developments. So we'll move. Okay. Eugene Trin, September 14th, 1950, was on STS-50. On September 14th, John Harrington was born, 1958, September 14th, 58. He was on STS-113. September 16th, 1956, Kevin Krugel was born, STS-70, STS-78, STS-87, and STS-99. On September 16th, 1985, Warren Hoberg was born. He was a SpaceX Crew 6. September 17th, 1930, Gemini 6, Gemini 9, Apollo 10, Apollo and Soyuz test projects. September 17th, Edgar Mitchell, 1930, was on Apollo 14. And let's see, September 17th, 1943, Samuel Durrance, 1943, was born at STS. He was on STS-35, STS-67. September 17th, 1961, Pamela Milroy was born. She was on STS-92, STS-112, STS-120, and is currently the Deputy Administrator of NASA. Okay, September 18th, 1944, Charles Vetch was born. September 18th, 1944, STS-39, STS-52. On September 19th, 1957, Richard Lineham, September 19th, 57, 1957, STS-78, STS-90, STS-109, STS-123. Okay, it's also on September 19th, but in 1965, Sunita Williams, STS-116, and Soyuz at TMA, and 3233, Boeing crewed test flight SpaceX Crew 9. Also on September 19th, but 1987, Kayla Barron, SpaceX Crew 3. And last birthday is September 20th, 1960, James Pawelczyk was on STS-90, born September 20th, 1960, STS-90. Okay, very short also in the space history this week. Gemini 11 was the 9th crewed spaceflight mission of NASA's Project Gemini. It was the 17th crewed American flight and the 25th space flight to that time. Charles Pete Conrad Jr. and Richard Gordon performed the first direct ascent, first orbit rendezvous with an Aegina target vehicle, docking with it 1 hour and 34 minutes after launch. And that is it. They used the Aegina rocket engine to achieve a record high apogee Earth orbit. And that is it for space for this section. So it'll be back to net control. Brenda, to you, W5GUS.
Thank you, guys. Okay, none heard. Next segment is Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, presented by Chaz, KSI-JAJ. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Gus, I just wanted to say thank you so much for talking about the sunspot 4220. Spaceweather.com has some detailed information about it. It could be very explosive very soon, so go to spaceweather.com and look at the details. Shows you even pictures of it. So anyway, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. There are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations. So Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And I've added several more, so we get close to 70 of those constellations. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Capricornus, the sea goat. Now, the sea goat has a body of a goat from the waist up and the tail of a fish. It's a very unusual creature, even for mythological standards, because the two halves don't seem to make a whole lot of sense together. Goats are designated to climb up steep and rocky cliffs, while fish are designed to move smoothly through water. Neither halves complement each other. In fact, they almost make it completely impossible creature altogether. Capricornus is the 40th largest constellation in the sky, occupying an area of 414 square degrees. Even though Capricornus is the second faintest constellation in the sky after Cancer, it is associated with the myths and images that go way back before the 21st century BC. The story of Capricornus originated from the Babylonians and Samaritans. Samaritans knew it as the goatfish. The Babylonian catalogs dating back to 10 to 1000 BC mentioned the constellation also meaning the goatfish. Isn't that interesting? Wow, goatfish, long time ago. Slide Master, slide number 18, the jokes of the week. So here we go. If you're over on Echolink, you can cheer or boo or hiss or whatever you want to over on Echolink. Why is it so hard to carry on a conversation with a goat? Well, because they're always kidding around. What do you call an unemployed goat? That would be Billy Idol. What do you call a goat with one ear? Van Goat. What do you call a goat on a mountain? A hillbilly. Hey, I'm about half hillbilly, so that's a funny joke. What do you call a goat playing the piano? That would be Billy Joel. What do you call a goat that knows martial arts? Karate Kid. Okay, that's enough of them for the moment. This is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 19. Deneb Algety, or actually known as Delta Capricorni, is Arabic for the tail of the goat. It shines at magnitude 2.82 and is about 50 light years away. It's a spectral class A7 star. A-type stars are generally blue-white in color, and since Delta is an A7 star, is much more white in color than it is blue. It is slightly variable due to the fact that it is an eclipsing binary star with a period of just over a day. Algety is a wide visual double star as well. The bright Algety is a different star. I was just talking about Deneb Algety, but Algety is a different star. It's a wide visual double star. The bright star is also known as Alpha 2. It shines at magnitude 3.56, and the fainter star is Alpha 1, shining at magnitude 4.24. Both stars are G-type stars or yellow stars, and both have small companion stars. Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 themselves, however, are not a true physical pair. Alpha 2 is about 100 light years away. Alpha 1 is about 500 light years away. Sharp-eyed observers can see both stars with the unaided eye, and they are easily split with binoculars or a finder scope. They appear yellow-white in color. In Burnham's Celestial Handbook, Robert Burnham Jr. writes that 4 degrees northeast of Algety is Mu Capricorni, is the spot where the planet Neptune was first detected by Galley and the Berlin Observatory in September 25th, 1846. Hey, we're almost at that anniversary. Among the mythological associations with Capricornus is the Roman god legend of Capricornus as one of the Neptune's offsprings. It is therefore fitting that the planet Neptune was discovered in Capricornus. This fact may have been some influence on why the name Neptune was chosen for the 8th planet, but it's not been officially confirmed. Slide Master, slide number 20. Messier 30 is a globular star cluster discovered by Charles Messier himself on August 3rd, 1764. Messier's small instruments were not capable of resolving the cluster into stars, so he described it as a nebula. It is generally agreed that the cluster was probably the first resolved into stars in 1783 by William Herschel, with a much larger telescope at his disposal. For many years, M30 was believed to be around 40,000 light years away, but recent observations using more advanced equipment and techniques have been revised to about 26,700 light years away, much closer to us than we had thought. Visually, M30 is noted to having a small, bright, dense core, which may have a difficulty in resolving to individual stars. Robert Burnham Jr. and Walter Scott Houston and Stephen James Amir all make note of this in their writings. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. GC, which stands for New General Catalog, is 6907, is a barred spiral galaxy. Its brightness is not very bright at a magnitude 11.9, which makes it quite faint. In his Constellation of the Month article in the Spectrum, Dave Hutchinson wrote, "My attempts at observing this galaxy resulted in my seeing the rather dense, borrowed part of the galaxy, but I was never really able to conclusively see its bright arms." Slide Master, slide number 22, NGC 7103. NGC 7103 is a much fainter galaxy. It's 14.88 magnitude and is definitely a challenge object. Dave Hutchinson had to use the Lone Star Observatory 24-inch telescope to see it, but he was able to tell that it was an elliptical galaxy. He could see the nearby NGC 7104, which is even fainter. Large aperture and clear dark skies are a must for seeing this object. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 23. Now, there's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Capricorn. It's the Sea Goat. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 96 different observing programs. Now, most of them have around 100 objects. So if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn a certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 24. And that is Ms. Killen's Constellation of the Week, Capricorn is the Sea Goat. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal from them for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week we'll take a look at microscopium. The microscope. That's a modern-day constellation. And this is KF5JJ Chaz saying good night and 73. Back to our night control. Brenda, it's yours.
Good evening. The time is 10 p.m.
Thank you, Chaz. This is WB from OZL. Do we have any more on-air check-ins? We don't, and we don't have any other electronic check-ins either. So, moving on, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. Here we go. We have, coming up, September 21st, that's tomorrow, Falcon 9 launch Starlink 10-27. This is from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. Falcon 9 rocket will launch 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit a little minute later than about 8 minutes after liftoff. First stage booster, B-1085. Launching for the 11th time, will target a landing on a drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas position in the Atlantic Ocean. September 22nd, Falcon 9 N-Roll 48 will launch. This will be from Vandenberg out in California from SLC-4E. Falcon 9 rocket will launch the N-Roll 48 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. This flight will be the 11th mission supporting the agency's proliferated architecture, a constellation believed to consist of Starshield satellites. SpaceX will use the Falcon 9 booster tail number B-1081, which will launch for the 18th time. 8 minutes after launch, 81 will target a landing on the landing zone 4. September 23rd, Falcon 9 IMAP launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy in Florida. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch a rideshare mission carrying 2 spacecraft for NASA, one for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. The primary payload is NASA's Interstellar Mapping and Acceleration Probe, or IMAP, and it will use its 10 science instruments to study the boundary of the Sun's heliosphere. Along with the ride are NASA's Carruthers Geocorona Observatory, designed to observe the ultraviolet light from the Earth's Geocorona, and NOAA's Space Weather Follow-on Lagrange, or SWFOL-1, which will monitor the Sun for key space weather activity. All 3 spacecraft will be sent to Lagrange point L1, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth and is positioned between the Earth and the Sun. September 25th, Falcon 9 Starlink 10-15 will launch SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. About 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage, this one's tail number B-1080, landing for the 22nd time, will target a landing on the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas positioned in the Atlantic Ocean. September 25th will be, hey, something different, an Atlas V launching KA-03. This will be from SOC-41 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. The United Launch Alliance's Atlas V in the 551 rocket configuration will launch 27 of Amazon's Project Kuiper broadband internet satellites into low Earth orbit. The spacecraft will be deployed at an altitude of 450 kilometers or 280 miles in an altitude and will eventually raise to an operating altitude of 392 miles. The Kuiper Atlas III mission is the fifth launch of Kuiper satellites to date, following two missions using ULA's Atlas V rockets and two missions on SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets. This launch will give Amazon a total of 129 satellites in low Earth orbit. Overnight, September 25th, 26th, Falcon 9 will launch Starlink 17-11 from SLC-4E at Vandenberg. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch 24 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. Here we go again. 8 minutes after liftoff, first stage booster, this one tail number B1063, launching for the 28th time, will target a landing on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, positioned in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, I'll go ahead and give, if you don't mind, the information on the flyovers for satellites coming up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The first one will be the International Space Station. We have a flyover on September 27th, minus 1.5 magnitude at 1952 in the evening. That will reach its highest point at let me give you I'll give you that one at 1954 at 13 degrees. It's relatively low. It'll fall at 1955, but 90 minutes later at 2127, minus 1.0 magnitude, a little less, well, actually more, no, it'll be less bright. At 2127 out of the northwest, it will reach its highest point at 18 degrees at 2128, and it'll fall to the northwest at 2128 into shadow at 18 degrees. September 28th, this is a good one, minus 3.6 magnitude at 2038 out of the northwest. It'll reach its highest point at 53 degrees at 2042, and it'll fall to the northeast at 2042. That goes into shadow. September 29th, minus 2.6 magnitude, 1950 in the evening. It reached its highest point at 28 degrees at 1953, and it'll fall to the east at 1955. Next up is the ever expanding Tiangong space station. This is the Chinese space station, now up to, I believe, 5 modules. There are two very good passes. September 21st, minus 2.1 magnitude at 2013 in the evening. Reach its highest point at 72 degrees at 2016, and it will fall to the east-southeast at 2018. September 23rd also sees a good pass, minus 1.5 magnitude at 1953 in the evening. It'll reach its highest point at 1956 at 53 degrees, and it'll fall to the south-southwest at 1959 to the southeast. All this information is available at heavensabove.com. You can go there, plug in your longitude, latitude, or type in your city, and it'll give you pretty good information or Kuipers as to the locations of all satellites. This also includes amateur radio satellites, too, so no special software is needed. Just point your antennas in that direction. Of course, the great thing is, because it's radio, day or night, you should be able to utilize those satellites. All of it's there. There's even a 3D rendering of the International Space Station over the actual territory that it's over, whether it be water or continents, and daylight or darkness. It's a pretty cool website. They keep adding stuff. Maybe one of these days we'll do a little presentation on Heavens Above as they continue to add more and more features to this very popular website. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have, we're actually running a little ahead. We can do a Q&A segment if anybody has any questions or comments. I'll take a final round of check-ins, and over on the electronic check-ins, we have K5JDW, John in Capel, and do we have any other online check-ins? I meant on-air check-ins. We have another Echolink check-in also. Kilo Golf 5, Tango November, Foxtrot, Johnny. So welcome to the net. Okay, any other remarks, questions, check-ins, or now? Sorry about that. Looks like we have 17 hands participating on the air. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We'll hope you join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WV5OZL, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:12 p.m. local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. So to everybody, enjoy the evening discovering the universe. But wait, there's more. We're going to have the Afterglow movie net beta test. Tom, would you please tell us what time to be back for that net?
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. We'll start the net at 10:30, so you get a little extra time tonight since we completed early. So come on back at 10:30, and we will be talking about the movie beta test from 2016, KE5 ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is WV5OZL Clear.
date.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, well, it is now 10:30, and it is time for the Afterglow Movie Net. This one is a science fiction, usually net. I'm not sure what this one would count as, maybe science fiction. But tonight's movie is called Beta Test from 2016. I found the wiki a little bit lacking, but it does give this a little bit of an introduction, and then I found a review from Variety that might give us a little more on the details. So I'll give you a little bit of both. First off, Beta Test is 2016 American science fiction action thriller film directed by Seattle local Nicholas Skynet. He described the film as a cross between a ready for this diehard gamer and The Firm. It stars a bunch of people you ever heard of before. Let's see. Here's an interesting comment. Guiney stated, "I'm not Steven Spielberg," while indicating there would be no auditions or screen tests for the film. Scripts were sent out to actors whom Guiney was familiar with, and those whom he liked the script with interest of being in the film were cast. Lorenz Tate was cast as protagonist Max, Manon Bennett as the video hero, game player Orson Creed, and Winston Ashby as Kincaid, the primary villain of the film. It was filmed in Seattle, Washington, over 19 days from September 7th to September 26th, 2014. It was filmed in Guiney's hometown. He believed that shooting such a movie in the Northwest would diversify the local film community. Well, I guess maybe it did or it did not. The film was released on July 22nd, 2016 to a review by The Hollywood Reporter. Frank Scheck praised the film for being impressively choreographed and filmed, while criticized the film for choosing technology over realism, as well as exploiting real-life tragedies such as 9/11. He also characterized the outdated visual style of the graphics, that would be the computer graphics, which would be noticed by hardcore gamers who this film is targeted towards. And that would make sense if you've seen, Grand Theft Auto, which came out about this same time. The graphics are much superior to what we saw in this 2016 film. So here it is. It says the plot has something to do with a video game developer. This is from Variety, by the way. who's been implanted with a device that more or less turns him into a real-world first-person shooter and has something else to do with the agoraphobic beta tester forced to control the shooter's actions from the relative safety of his living room. There's a method to this seeming madness. Creed, the guy who, with the implant, wanted to build on his wartime experiences by designing technology that could transform normal soldiers into remote-controlled super warriors. Hey, did someone say universal soldier? But the technology is turned against him by Kincaid, a vid-game tycoon with a vaguely defined scheme to disarm citizens and keep guns in games by using Creed and others as patsies to wreak havoc, elevate body counts, and otherwise tilt public opinion toward more restrictive gun control laws. And the reviewer says, no kidding. Lorenz Tate figures into the mix as Max, a cocky yet reclusive beta tester who hasn't left his house in years because, are you sitting down? Jealous rivals inadvertently shot his beloved dog while aiming at him. Kincaid forces Max to try his hand at controlling Creed in order to get the bugs out of the new technology, but Creed, who just happens to be a bone-breaking, throat-slitting, butt-kicking bad boy when he's not working in the lab, manages to go rogue in order to free his wife from Kincaid's clutches. From the opening credits, which fold over news clips depicting terrible events ranging from 9/11 to the Aurora movie theater shootings, to the sporadic mentions of false flag theories invoking the JFK assassination, Creed refers to Lee Harvey Oswald as distraction. Beta test is fraught with indications that director Nicholas Guiney, working from a script he co-wrote with Andre Kirkman, intends this nonsense to work at some level as a cautionary tract about, well, some kind of clear and present danger. Ultimately, however, beta test works best, and even then just barely, as an homage to the Reagan-Bush era quickies designed to slack the early hearty appetites of undiscriminating VHS renters. The preponderance of the interior shots, the mad dashes through conspicuously underpopulated streets, the 80s porn star mustaches on plot recapitulating newscasters, the aggressively loud VH1 ready musical score, the melodramatic line readings by actors desperate to hard sell generic dialogue. Really just about the only thing that's missing here is a swaggering cameo by Wings Hauser. Instead, we get a broadly villainous turn as a sadistic henchman by Kevin Stover, who looks and sounds like what you would have settled for if you went shopping at Kmart for Danny Trejo. And that's it. That was the review from Variety Magazine, and then some info from Wiki. So hopefully we'll have an audience tonight. We'll find out. Not sure what to make of this one, so I'll go ahead and take check-ins at this point. Please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see tonight's movie, Beta Test from 2016? And don't worry, if you haven't, we have a place for you, because we'll be talking about action, adventure, sci-fi. Yeah, it does exist. It does. So here we go. Please come now with your call sign, name. Did you see Beta Test?
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Yes, I did see the movie.
Zero Bravo 9, Sir Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this movie.
WD5OZL, and Brenda, I did see the movie.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, and Fort Worth. I did not see the movie.
All right, we teased out 4. I've got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Yeah, you saw the film. KB9SOK, Sean with an early check-in, Fort Worth. Yep, you saw the film. WB50ZL, Brenda, Dallas. Yes, she saw the film. NV5F, Virginia. I think she's in Fort Worth. No, she did not see the film. I think I know why, too. Okay. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. I suspect there'll be some other folks showing up here in a little bit, but we'll find out. Not one of our premiere films, but we'll see how this all works out. So we'll get started with whom we've got. Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your thoughts on our film this evening, plot-wise, from KE5 ICX.
I really wish I had taken the time to watch last week's movie, Transit, because I'm really curious about that one. It sounded very complicated, but very interesting. This movie was neither complicated nor interesting. It wasn't incoherent, but it was definitely muddled. I could tell that there were good guys and a bad guy, and the bad guy wanted to do something very mean and cause a lot of people to get hurt, but his motivation was presented differently at different times in the movie, and I don't know why, nor do I know, other than the fact that they were victims of the bad guy, I don't know that the good guys were trying to accomplish anything in particular, not saving the world so much as just escaping the bad guy. I found it muddled, and although it did have one really great sequence, I did enjoy the bank robbery bit. I thought that was a fun fusion of video game and stereotypical action movie violence. For an action movie, this was really talky and slow. And I'll get into other problems with that in other rounds, but there was so much talking, and it was so slow and so full of very ordinary 2000s houses and dining rooms and things. So yeah, I think it was muddled and slow and unengaging. Definitely not a success for me in terms of plot, or anything else really. NT5TM.
When Tony has a very short synopsis and response, you know we're in trouble. So next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on the plot for our film this evening?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yes, I did check in earlier tonight. I ate my popcorn early, so I wasn't popping popcorn. Watching check-ins. Anyway, I agree with Tony. What he said is pretty fitting. I put this movie in the same category as like Jetstream. It was pretty bad. Obviously, we'll get more into character second round. But just the whole... I realized they didn't have money really on this thing, but just everything was wrong. They were trying to simulate a video game where you're controlling a real person, but yet it didn't feel all realistic. It didn't look realistic. Once again, I don't know why they wouldn't have used something more like a VR kind of setup. In 2016, we had that stuff. It wasn't particularly popular yet, but that would have been more realistic, trying to control a real human in the real world. And the graphics would have been more on par for the headsets versus, the actual gaming consoles look so much more real. And then just, they treated the game, the guy who was controlling the person, it felt like an arcade game and not like a real game. And a real easy way to explain that is like, for instance, when he was driving the car, he was making 90-degree turns at high speed, and the car was sticking perfectly to the road. Well, if he was controlling a real car in the real world, it wouldn't do that. And we have things like Test Drive, the game that's been around for years, and it gives you a realistic driving experience, and the car acts like it really would. And so it ain't like in 2016 computers weren't capable of simulating physics, because they are. So just little things like that, it just totally threw you off. And just, there was a lot of holes in the plot as well. Just simply like, during the main sequence, which I do hear is probably maybe the more interesting sequence. But, the fact that then, you got the guy who's supposed to take the quote-unquote bad guys out, but maybe I missed it. Maybe they did see on the paper there to steal the money at the end. I don't remember that ever being said. Seemed like there were some places where it seems like they cut a scene out, and you're like, oh, why is he doing that? When was he told to do that? So there was a lot of that. Once again, and I had a real problem with the school shooting scene, where the guy was in there shooting up all the kids, and, he was told to help the guy, not stop him. Of course, the bank robbing thing, you can forgive the player, the guy that was supposed to be the game expert, because he didn't know it was real life, but he knew it was real life when the kids were getting killed. I don't know about you all, but if I found myself in that situation, I would hope, I know preservation to save your own life's high, but if you knew a bunch of kids were being killed, I would like to think that most people would go ahead and sacrifice themselves, and it would have stopped that guy from killing those kids. So I thought that was kind of an unrealistic thing, because this guy seemed like overall a pretty good guy. I don't think that he would have been cool with that, going in and letting the guy kill the kids. So, I had a real problem with that scene. And then, the ending was kind of lame. The other thing, too, which was weird, I found, is it seems like when the guy was controlling our guy with the controller, the guy almost had superpowers. He could hit harder than a normal person. He was better at everything. Why? Once again, you're controlling a real person. Why would he magically have additional strength and what have you? It didn't feel very realistic. And for something that was supposed to feel very realistic, I kind of get the idea they were trying to get across there. Yeah, maybe there are some political things about there. To get violent video games removed off the store shelves so kids wouldn't be playing games with guns. That was a real thing that was tried. But once again, really would a game maker go to those extremes? The whole thing was pretty far-fetched. And, there's a lot to say about the acting and the dialogue in the next round. Anyway, back to net, this is KB9SOK.
All right, Sean, thank you. I'm taking tons of notes here because I got some things I want to say about the film, thanks to your comments, you and Tony's comments. WB50ZL, Brenda, you're up next. What are your thoughts about beta test from 2016?
This is WB50ZL. Well, my experience with video games is limited to walking through the room while my kids were playing games. That's not something that ever had any interest for me whatsoever, so I don't understand video games. I'll say that. So I probably missed some of the important parts of this by not really knowing anything about it. Not quite sure why. I do know what a beta test is. I'm not quite sure why that name was appropriate for this movie, but there you have it. I thought it was muddled. It was hard to follow. I lost interest a big part of the way through, and I think they just had this idea and they just tried to hammer it into a movie because they wanted to run with it, even though it wasn't a particularly good idea or something that would be easy to implement. But they were committed, so they did it. I just didn't think it was very interesting. It was too violent. Didn't like that. Couldn't tell what was going on. So I'm sure it was an interesting concept when they sat around and talked about it, but it didn't play pan out that way. Okay, back to the net, W5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Let's see. Virginia, I'm going to come back to you in a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and ask for another round of check-ins. Tonight's movie is called Beta Test from 2016. If you would like to join us this evening, whether you've seen the film or not, that's perfectly fine either way. Please come with your call sign, name, did you see tonight's film? Well, okay. This may be one of those evenings where we go pretty quickly through the film. One thing I can tell you, and my apologies to the group, this sometimes happens, I don't go and do a lot of review on the films that we do watch ahead of time. Sometimes I've seen them, a lot of times I haven't. So I want to see it kind of without a lot of background information so it doesn't spoil the plot, although it spoils my evening if it turns out it's not a good film or something's missing. This one has stuff missing, but let me talk about some of the things that I found interesting about the film. First off, you can talk about the technical aspects of the film if you want, which is that, Grand Theft Auto, which is a game, has been out for at least 10 years, and this film is 10 years old. Grand Theft Auto has had several iterations, but it hasn't been updated in years, really. I'm not a gamer, but I have seen the environment. There's actually some players inside of Grand Theft Auto, which are quite interesting, by the way, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. It actually put this to shame. It's far more interesting what they do than what this film was trying to attempt to do. But here's the thing. The plot was so convoluted, it didn't make any sense. The motivations didn't help any. It was like all you have to do is like break out of this. People are going to die, but perhaps, but what are you going to do? What is your motivation? Are they not going to kill them? They're going to release them and there's no way that they're going to be traced, that this information isn't going to get out, that these people are going to be identified. Of course they're identified. They figure out who they are quickly. They foil the plot. I don't know how it ended because I had to go to bed last night, but I was kind of getting tired of the repetitious violence. It just didn't make any sense to me. I know if you're into first-person shooting, maybe it helps, and this is something you can enjoy. It's not my cup of tea for a film, as it turns out. I think would have been more interesting as far as the plot is concerned if you wanted to do this as a weapon. You would maybe attach it to a robot or a drone or something like that. That's more real world when you think about it, and it's being done by and being recruited by gamers to a certain extent. So that's been predicted in other movies as well, that the young people in the 80s would end up being the people operating drones and robots and things like that of the future, and that's exactly what they're doing in the 90s and the 2000s now. Probably 2000s would be more accurate than today. So that would make sense. But the things that I think would have been interesting to talk about would be if you were working with someone and doing these beta testing, but doing it in a wartime environment. It would make more sense. What would your robots do? Would the violence be, because it would be in the fog of war, would they mitigate that? Would they dial it back so that the person operating the robot, let's say, or the drone, wouldn't feel as emotionally attached to the moral, barriers that you might have to do things, to kill someone, a human being. But if you had a way of removing that and making it more of a game and less of the real life, could you get away with that? Or potentially, could a person become more violent? The old violence in video games could have been explored only from a military standpoint and in a real war. I don't know. That could be very interesting, looking at it from all sides, and what do the observers see and what do they want out of it? Rather than doing this beta test thing, do it within a military context. Or potentially it could have been two sides doing the same thing and comparing against what one side does with its mechanized remote force against the other force. I think that there would be much more compelling stories there, moral. Another thing too is that it's always interesting because we all know we get poor cell phone connections. Is this military device have great reception? I'm not so sure. And if it does go out, what happens? Now, we had a little bit of that, but it was barely noticeable. And as was mentioned by Sean, too, the physicality that's going on didn't make any sense. Car couldn't travel in the way that it did. Let me reset.
Yo, can I get a radio check?
Well, we're in the middle of the net, but we can hear you. Come on in. Okay, well, I guess that was good enough. At any rate, I think that could have been interesting things to consider with a story. I think that would have been much more compelling. It didn't make any sense, the motivation. Now, I will say there was a Black Mirror story. That was this British television series. It's been on for a number of years now. It's kind of a Twilight Zone version with high technology, and several people are caught viewing forbidden pornography. We don't know what it is. It's never explained, but they are definitely motivated to do whatever they are being blackmailed to do, which includes stealing things and moving merchandise and things like that, because the alternative being turned over to the authorities was not a very good thing. So they were well motivated. All of them, I believe, in any case, the contraband and the things that were going on was handed off from one desperate person to another. And it goes through all of that. I thought that was very interesting. It talked about the problems and the consequences of pornography. It was a 1-hour story, and it was much more compelling than what we've got here. I thought that was interesting. No third-person shooter stuff. This was like, I know what you did, and this is going to get you in trouble. So that was a much better handled story with similar consequences. Also, there was another with simulated story with the simulated battle stuff. What do you call it? Like matches, boxing matches, and that. Only to find out that the opponent turned out to be completely different person and personality than they ever expected, which was really kind of interesting. There's a love story involved, but it ends with a very interesting twist. The technology, the simulation, turns out to fold in on itself in a very curious way, a very Twilight Zone type ending. Those are more compelling stories with not just this one-to-one simulation thing that we've got. It didn't make any sense. It did not provide anything. I didn't see the ending, so I don't know. From what I understand, it had an unsatisfactory or muddled ending. So if your characters don't learn anything, as I've mentioned many times before, your characters don't learn something or they don't grow, what's the point of the story? Is there an object lesson there? Well, if they don't learn the lesson, then how the heck are we supposed to learn the lesson? I don't know. Very strange, I guess. Okay, anyone else want to check in before we go back up to the top? And then, Virginia, I'm going to ask your thoughts on the whole thing here after characterization. So, anyone else want to join us? Please come now. Okay, well, we'll go to the top of the list again. Tony, NT5TM, we're talking about characterization and the acting. What do you think from KE5 ICX?
Well, Tom, thank you. You reminded me of a plot hole I talked about with Aaron after watching this. More interesting than the plot of the movie would have been the plot of the congressional investigation that followed this movie, the first mass murders caused by a remote-controlled human. Who's at fault? Can the shareholders be prosecuted? What's all the strange, complicated years of legal fallout from that? Would have been a lot more interesting than the plot. The characters, well, I could tell them apart, but that's kind of faint praise there. I didn't care about them at all. I found them to be morally vacuous, and it was a gamer movie in the sense that everyone who did anything was a male, except for the one female who got a line at the very end and got a couple of action moves at the very end supporting one of the male characters. But by and large, vacuous, and I didn't care about them. NT5TM.
Good evening. The time is 11 p.m.
Oh, all right. By the way, Tony, you just reminded me of something with that comment of something that happened to me today with automated technology. I'll bring that up when it's my turn. Okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization acting?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, Tom, that is a good point you made about this would have been much better had they had used this in some kind of military situation and doing the beta testing that way, and then exploring the consequences of, using a drone or remote control person or robot to kill. That would have been way better. It would have made way more sense. Because these characters, the motivations were not good at all. This is pretty bad. Our main bad guy, once again, the whole motivation because they were wanting to potentially ban guns in games, running around killing people like that's going to help justify it. It made no sense at all. Our gamer that was stuck in the house because the dog got shot, never going to leave the house again. Once again, I felt that was pretty weak. Once again, had it been, the guy, even the old movie made fun of itself when he told the story to the one guy. The guy chuckled it, and it's like, why didn't they just say it was his brother or somebody he was in love with, or, better motivation. It was just this was just not well thought out. The dialogue was pretty rough through most of this. Even simple little things, at the beginning when he didn't know that he was controlling a real person, and then the girl on the phone was trying to keep him from accidentally killing innocent people while he was driving. And he said, well, I got infinite lives. Instead of just not saying anything, she could have just said, no, in this particular game you don't. You only get one chance. Or if you hurt any innocent people, then you're done. It's just, once again, they just didn't think this thing through at all. It just felt like this was a one-time script. and it just wasn't followed through. Yeah, the one-liners were pretty bad as he went through, but you know there are games, first-person shooters that do the generic one-liners after you get a kill in the game. So I get what they were doing there, but then the dialogue didn't get any better when the guy was no longer under the control of the gamer. Well, for one, I'll be honest, his acting was pretty bad in this film. You know, it's just, the dialogue didn't get any better. It was pretty bad. And then, you know, another kind of plot hole I forgot to mention too was, you know, this guy at the end of the movie goes through this building and takes out like 30 guards with no problem. Then he gets down to take on this older businessman in a business suit, and he gets his butt kicked, basically. And I'm thinking, you know, if this guy's former military, you know, what's good? He just took out 30 men. It was just, this thing just wasn't flushed out at all. All the motivations were bad. The acting wasn't particularly good in this as well. Granted, they didn't have very good dialogue to work with. Tony brought up a good point, and then, yeah, he got that bounced off of, you know, Tom as well. And I forgot to mention that as well. It's like these people at the end, they all get to go free. You know, what would be the consequences? Would they really just let them both just go free? You know, even though they were under the threat of being killed? You know, it's like there was nothing. And all of a sudden, now they're going to make him the CEO of the company? It was just not well written. You know, it just didn't make sense. So, yeah, unfortunately, this was kind of a rough one. Yeah, I don't really recommend it. Anyway, back to that KB9 SOK.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, I think we're all kind of zeroing in on the same thing. What the heck was this all about, and why? It was a bad idea that got worse. Okay, Brenda, WB5OZL, do you want to change the trajectory of this thing with your characterization and acting? Please go ahead.
This is WB5OZL. The actors were actors. They're okay, but I didn't really like any of them. And I don't think there was anybody in this movie that I really knew or understood. I mean, the actors. I guess they did an okay job. I just didn't really care about them. I don't know how else to say it. And it wasn't a very good movie. So I just don't have much else to say. WB5OZL.
Oh my, this is going by so quickly. Okay, Virginia, NV5F. You've heard the word. What do you think? I think you were out there yesterday and you probably watched a little bit of it, but I think you probably figured this thing out pretty quickly and said, not for me. But what do you think? Is this action-adventure, shoot-'em-up something that works for something like this or not? From KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Well, to be perfectly honest, I would have started watching this movie. However, something came up that just kind of got in the way of me watching it last night, so I actually haven't seen any of it. You know me well, I am one to, if I get a few minutes into something and it's just gratuitously violent, and I think I'm going to, you know, tire of it. I tire of that very quickly, so I might have ditched after a few minutes because of that, based on what you guys are saying. I am not inclined to give this a try. You guys are not giving it any positive remarks, so I'm pretty disposed not to even give it a go. I also am I'm not a video game person. I loved video games when I was a kid in the 80s when they first came out, and they were novel and exciting. It's fun to go to the arcade or play Atari, but I never wanted to just play and play and play until I got to be the best. I got bored pretty quickly. I just didn't ever want to stay at it. And, the whole thing that was said earlier by, I guess it was Sean, I can't remember. I don't want to credit anybody with something that is not them, but giving it some kind of a ding because most of the characters were male. I mean, that's just the way the video game world works. You got a few girls out there, but it's 99.9% guys. I really have issues with the whole video game thing. I worked in the video game industry when I lived in LA. That was back when it was kind of on the cusp of turning into the juggernaut that it is now. And I don't really like what it's turned into, and I don't really like what it's wrought in the young male population. So I probably would not be inclined to see this one, and I do appreciate the review of it. I did, however, this week watch the movie Dark Star, which I hadn't watched in quite a few years and had mostly forgotten because I watched it kind of in passing on the recommendation of a friend of mine and I, who actually used to watch movies on Friday nights. He was in one place and I was down here, and we would watch them kind of the way I watch movies with you guys now. It was a very similar setup, and I tended to pay more attention to messaging than actually watching the movie. So when I got into it, I realized that, I've already seen this. And David and Brenda and I were messaging about it a little bit while I was watching it, and she said she hadn't seen it, and I'm guessing, Tom, that you've seen it, and it might be a fun one for us to watch. It is actually an interesting little piece of science fiction history because of the people who worked on it, including John Carpenter and Dan O'Bannon. And I can kind of tell what it was going for, though I feel like it failed miserably on many fronts, but I could see what they were trying for there, so that might be a fun one for us to watch in the near future. Anyway, thanks you guys for slogging through this one, so I didn't have to. Back to Ned in V5F.
8, 9, 0, 2, time out.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Yeah, we talked about that last week, and Dark Star was a movie I saw at a convention, a science fiction convention, I think in 1975, and then I watched it again later on, I think on television or on VHS or something after that. And it's a fun film. It's one that we probably need to watch again. We have watched it, but I'll put it on the list and see if it's available. I got one up my sleeve I think we'll enjoy for next week. I'll hold off on that for a few more minutes before then, before I unleash it on the crowd. But it did show up as for free, so let me see if Dark Star has that. I'll put that on the short list, and we'll watch it. Especially with the alien thing. It's interesting that a comedy ends up being the inspiration for the Alien series. It's been going strong for the last 30 plus years, 40 years, maybe 50 years when you think about it, if you include Dark Star in that. Okay, some things about this. The characterization, obviously I didn't care about much. Talking about, let me shift into video gaming itself. Video gaming is usually first-person shooter type stuff. Sometimes there's strategy involved. Most of the time not. There are players out there that do these things. Grand Theft Auto is a popular game. It's been around for a long time. They have not really updated it per se. But where it has flourished is actually in the I forget what they call it, but it's like an open source environment. They've taken the environment itself, the physical city that's Grand Theft Auto, which is very elaborate, quite interesting. It looks a lot like L.A., although it's not L.A., but it is L.A. All of the landmarks are there. The Capitol Records building called something else is there. The Hollywood sign is there. It's I forget what it is. San something is the name of the town. And there are streets and there are places you can go. But you can populate it with people who play the game, and they have avatars, and they do all this stuff, and they role play, and they find ways of earning money and buying things inside the environment. And it's all done in this world that they've created. There's another like that. I can't think of the name right now that I was involved with for a little bit. But it's quite interesting. There's even a character there whose name is Eugene, who's very popular. I saw him play. Funny guy, hilarious. He confuses the other players. He tells confusing stories. He plays this elderly guy. Everybody else plays all the young 20-somethings, but he's this old elderly guy, and he just goes around, English accent, and gets away with everything. Confuses the cops. It's a cops and robbers game, and tells them things that they don't understand, and they believe him, and very, very funny stuff, very entertaining. I remember the other game, Second Life, which I did a tombstone thing, and there was some role play in that was quite fun. You get to be somebody different, and you get to interact with other players. That's much more interesting because you're actually working or dealing with people playing characters, and sometimes they take their characters quite seriously. It's role-playing, play acting, which we did as kids. You can still do as an adult. Just don't waste a lot of time on it. You know, you can experiment and have fun with it, particularly within it, whatever the context of the game is. But for me, nah, I'm with you. I'm with most people that are in our age group, and that is not into shoot-em-ups. Some people, that's fine. That's what they like to do, and I'm okay with it. There's nothing wrong with it, I suppose, if you derive entertainment out of it. I get very bored with that stuff very quickly. I'd rather much solve a puzzle than shoot something up or do the same thing over and over and over again, like race around a track 1,000 times. That doesn't seem very interesting to me. And this movie, in essence, that's what it became, because none of the characters were compelling, interesting. They had reasons to do what they were doing, but not very good reasons, and easily thwarted, as was demonstrated in the movie. So I don't know, not very good, I think. Now, I was going to mention my my unmanned automated experience today. As you all know, I'm an avid runner. Today was 18 miles all through the southern part of Corpus Christi, and I was coming up on mile, I think it was 16, 17 in that range. I'm getting pretty tired. I've been out there for quite a while by this time, and I made a wrong turn. I have a Garmin watch which has a GPS in it, and I had a pre-described route, but I missed the turn. I turned, I think it was actually late, and I ended up on this dead-end street. Well, I slow down, really to a walk, because I want to check my watch and see where the heck I am and where I made the wrong turn. Well, I'm in the street, but it's a side street. It's a dead end. It's a cul-de-sac, so it's nothing going on. And then I get surprised, and a car goes around me. I'm partly in the street. Now, don't get mad at me because I was in the street. I've been out there for hours, so and on a side street. I've been on these main public roads with things whizzing by. This is nothing. There's nothing on it, so this car took me by surprise when it came up. And as it passed me, rather closely, it had all of these sensors all over it. It was a self-driving car picked somebody up at the end of the cul-de-sac. And I thought, geez, there's no noise. I think it might have been electrical. I didn't recognize the car. But it just kind of a weird feeling knowing that this thing came up and picked somebody up and whisked them away without a brain in it, a person behind the wheel. Rather weird. That was my first and only experience with that sort of thing. So we even got modern technology down here. We even have indoor plumbing. Well, I'll put out another call for anyone who'd like to check in. If there's anybody out there would like to check in, we're going to do our final round, which will probably go really quick. But if you want to get in and just talk about this topic, now's the time to check in. Please come now.
K5BP.
It's the Bernie, K5BP. Hey, Bernie, you're up. I bet you it's football time, isn't it? And today's it's Saturday. I don't think you're out doing anything, but welcome. What do you got for us? And it's good hearing you, by the way.
Well, it's a little bit off the subject, but thanks for keeping me awake. I came from Waco at a Baylor game, but your incident with the self-driving car always reminds me of the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wish I could remember the title of it, but remember they had Johnny Cab in there. Do you recall that one?
Oh, yeah. That's the one on Mars, and Johnny Cab, the voice is voiced by Robert Picardo, went on to play the Doctor on Star Trek Voyager, I think it was. And, I'm trying to remember the film. They even remade it later on. Doggone it. But yeah, I do.
Yeah, I don't know why. Every time I hear them discussing self-driving cars, I always think of that Johnny Cab, especially the end where Arnold Schwarzenegger pulls the guy's head off.
Yeah, that's a good film. You can get it for you wholesale. Was the name of the story originally, a short story that came from. Why can I? I'll think of it. I'll probably have to Google it to remember it. I'm getting old. I can't remember anything anymore. But that was a good film.
Okay, well, it's good talking to you, Tom. I'll let you have the frequency back. This is K5BP. Always a pleasure.
Well, I Googled it, so I find it's Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Johnny Cab by Robert Picardo. Even the Johnny Cab looks a little bit like what Robert Picardo looked like back then. So, a little bit, at any rate. Yeah. Good movie. Enjoyed that a lot. I even, although I didn't think the newer version of that film was as good, it was okay. You still had in that one you had the same question, is it real or is it Memorex? We'll never know for sure. So there is some simulation stuff going on in that one as well. Makes it work. Okay, we're going to go down the list on special effects. This one may go quickly. I think we kind of covered it because that's practically the topic of the film is the technology part. So I'll start with Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you got anything on that or any final comments? Please go ahead. Or if you got a movie suggestion, I'll do that too.
Yeah, I I gotta say, I don't think this movie is worth any more of my breath or thought. But Aaron also brought up Dark Star this week, so it may be time to watch that again and have some fun with it. NT5TM.
All right, I've got it asterisked here, and I'll tell you what, I'll bump it to the top of the list. If it's a freebie this week, I will put it at the top of the list. Okay, Sean, KB9SOK, any final words from you? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I've kind of already pointed out all the flaws as far as their technical aspects of trying to make it look like a realistic game. Yeah, unfortunately, video games, I will say, I do play some still, even today. Obviously, I played much more when I was a kid. But, I prefer the puzzle games. Open world was the word he's looking for. The Sims is a very popular one where you literally have just a mundane life. You start out on your own, you find somebody, you get married if you want to, you can have kids and build a house and a career. So they do have games like that to where, you can do that kind of, and there are some good puzzle games out there that aren't violent. So there is some good stuff out there that's non-violent, but unfortunately those the more popular ones are. As far as this movie, yeah, I don't think the technical part was particularly good. I don't remember a whole lot music-wise. There was something there, but it wasn't enough for me to remember it. Didn't really care for the way they filmed it either. It almost felt like somebody was using their iPhone at different times in 2016. Few places looked professional. As far as, there's not a lot of good video game movies to recommend, just because they typically, I don't think, take them seriously. Riddick was actually pretty good, even though it wasn't an exact adaptation, but it was a pretty good movie. I never was into Minecraft, so I didn't watch that new Minecraft movie, but they claim it's good if you like Minecraft, but I can't really say, because I'm not into the game and didn't watch the movie. Of course, there's always Ready Player One. So if video games is your thing, there's definitely better ones out there. Anyway, sounds like you had an interesting pick, so looking forward to next week, or watching the movie everybody's been talking about. So, anyway, thanks. This is KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. Thank you, and Tony, for your comments for what was kind of a toothless movie. Helped to pass the time, and we got at least a few things off our chest about it. Next, Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, your final thoughts, anything you want to say about the film, special effects, anything. Unload. I think Brenda fell asleep because when she was doing net control, I could hear her yawning. You did too. Okay, well, as she wakes up, we'll talk to her in a little bit. Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, got any final comments? Please, go ahead.
Only final comment, I guess, is that when I watched Dark Star this week, it was free on YouTube, so free with ads. So might be a good one for next time. And I've been fooling with my my portable radio station set up here while I have listened, and I'm making some progress with that. So thanks for keeping me up and keeping me entertained. Good night, all, in V5F.
Okie dokie, and thanks, Virginia, for checking in, even if you didn't see the film. Anybody else out there, same thing goes for you, too. If you didn't see the film, that's all right. If you're a regular or even an irregular, come on in. We'll find something to discuss. In fact, sometimes some of the side conversations are more interesting than the movie itself. So don't be afraid to check in if you're out there and listening. Don't mind at all. I think Bernie has checked out, but let me go ahead and ask him. He's on his way back from Waco, so he's had a strong signal into the repeater, so he's probably somewhere in Dallas still. Bernie, got anything you want to add? Hey, you got a movie suggestion? If you can hear us, K5BP from KE5 ICX.
Yeah, this is K5BP. I doubt you could get them for free, but one of my favorite movies was Brazil, and one of my second movies was 12 Monkeys, and I believe both of them were by Terry Gilliam, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we've done both. We did Brazil here about 6 months ago, and 12 Monkeys, that's getting long in tooth. I think we did that one about 3 or 4 years ago. Might be time for a redo. 12 Monkeys was actually made into a TV series, too, in case you didn't know. We have Terry Gilliam fans and foes on that one, but I always enjoy them. I think they're quite interesting. We watched a recent one by him, Don Quixote, which I rather liked. I thought was pretty good. That's a lesser-known film that took many years for him to make. We watched that one. I enjoyed that one.
Interesting. Well, I'm so old, Tom, that I saw both 12 Monkeys and Brazil at the Inwood Theater.
Well, Bernie, we're all old. Well, some of us aren't, but most of us are old, and we've seen all these movies in the theater at one time. It saw Total Recall in the theater as well. So, yeah, that's no surprise. I even saw, although it was a redo, I did see 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in the theater. Now, that movie came out, 58? But it was in the full Disney setup. It had a short cartoon, Disney cartoon, followed by the, Real Life Adventures, a 20-minute two-reeler, followed by the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea after that. So it was the threefer that you would get. That was typical with the Disney films. You got the 3 different features or mini features, and two mini features and a full-length movie for price of admission.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, you'd go see a movie, and even if it wasn't a Disney movie, they would often have a short cartoon before the movie.
Yeah, that was typical for matinees, Saturday matinees. I remember here we go, getting old. Let's see, admission, at least daytime matinee prices, although I think nighttime was a little more, but not much. Adult price for movie was $1.25, and kids were 75 cents. And as I was getting older, I would go up to they had the theater ticket booth right in the front. It'd be a single booth with one person in it. And I would actually walk up and I would kind of bend my knees a little bit because I was older than 12. I think that was the kid age. And as long as it was a G movie or GP movie, you could get in, or PG. No, it was GP then, I guess. I could get in and save a few dollars and get in for 75 cents and watch the films. There were several I saw at those reduced prices from the early 70s, late 60s. All fun. That was the Dearborn Theater for me in Dearborn, Michigan. All right, well, with that, I'm going to close it up. Now, the film that I had originally scheduled, and we may still watch it, depends, is Free Enterprise with William Shatner. It's a comedy. It's a lot of fun. It's about 2 Star Trek fans as they reach middle age. If you've never seen it, you're in for a real treat. If you're a Star Trek fan or know anything about it, you're going to get some in-jokes. If you're really good and you know the minutiae of Star Trek, there are some in jokes, but it's also available over on Plex for free. But we'll do Dark Star first if it's available on YouTube, and that will satisfy that. It'll be fun to watch, especially after the Dan O'Bannon emergence for Alien Earth, which is a series I'm going through right now. So with that, I'll say 7-3 to everybody. Thank you. We ended a little early tonight, but that's perfectly fine. We'll do this again next Saturday night. Thank you all for participating, and we'll see you in the funny papers. This is KE5 ICX Clear. Unless anybody's got any comments they want to do, we're just not a net anymore. This is KE5 ICX.